Ray, why don't you summarize the first three chapters of the stories for us?
Okay, so the protagonist Philip's parents went out for a 4 nights holiday, and the only people left in the house with Philip is Mr. Benz and Mrs. Benz. And after having a quarrel with Mrs. Benz, and Philip managed to leave the house for a while, and later he meets Mr. Benz with his so-called niece, and then Mr. Benz hopes Philip can keep the meeting as secret. And however, the secret soon revealed to Mrs. Benz because of Philip's carelessness. So later, since his wife is away, Mr. Benz brings his niece home. Nevertheless, Mrs. Benz comes back early and looking for the couple.
So, Anne, after hearing the short summary of Race, what do you think the narrative point of view of the story is?
I think the story is told from the third-person point of view, since the narrator is not involved in the story, and the character in the story is referred to he or she or they or their names.
So do you think the author used an omniscient narrator, or do you think it's a limited one?
I think it is limited, because we only know what Philip senses and how he thinks.
Since we know how Philip feels and how he thinks, so Cloris, why do you think at the end of chapter 1 Philip chooses to leave the house?
I think that the reason why he chooses to leave the house is that he hates Mrs. Banks too much. He doesn't even get his head and walk straight out of the house. According to the text, Mr. Banks always looks at him with her peevish eyes while she moves around, getting everything in order, meticulous and loveless and doing her duty. He really hates her, so he doesn't want to stay in the space that she has ever touched.
Well, I think what Philip wants is more like a freedom base, because he never experienced the world. He never, well, with his parents, he never has the chance to go out by himself, and that's why I think he left the house, because at least he has the choice to do so.
And we also know if Miss Ben keep guarding the door, and Philip absolutely can go out.
Okay, so in the story we can clearly see that after Philip's parents went out, Mrs. Benz is in charge of the house. So why do you guys think that Philip feared Mrs. Benz so much?
In my opinion, in the text, Mrs. Ben's voice reminds Philip of the voice in his nightmare. And according to his description, it is loud, and a little boy can be scared by a person with a loud voice. And then it is sharp, that might make him feel anxious. Besides, it is full of malice. You can imagine how terrible love voice is.
So to me, Mrs. Banks represents the world of reality. In the beginning of chapter 1, the narrator describes Philip, the boy between nurses, and from this statement we see him as a person who never had the experience to life. So when he finally has the chance to cross the threshold to meet the real world, Mrs. Banks comes in to stop him. And by keeping Philip captive in the house, Mrs. Banks isolates the boy from the outside world. And the boy therefore represents the world of fantasy. And he calls everything he encountered outside of the world, outside of the house, life. And my comment is that when reality contradicts with fantasy, Philip, the representation of fantasy, becomes the victim of the adult world. Ray, the author introduces the motifs of lies and secrets. What secret is Philip allowed to share, and with what consequences? To which secrets is he denied access?
So in the story, after Philip encounters Mr. Benz meeting his niece, and Mr. Benz does not want him to lie, but he told Philip that he does not need to tell the meeting to Mrs. Benz. And however, when Mrs. Benz found out the reason that Philip does not have appetite for the supper and beginning to question him, Philip made a slip of the town to let Mrs. Benz know that Mr. Benz is meeting someone. And Philip feels angry and disappointed because he cannot keep the secret for Mr. Benz. And in the end, when Mr. Benz tries to hide the truth of Mrs. Benz's death from the constable, Philip cannot endure this lying and guilt, so he speaks out the truth and refuses greatly to see her dead body.
Does Philip himself lie?
I think there's a slight difference between lying and deception, and in my opinion, I don't think Philip tells any lie, but he does deceive Mrs. Ben, and he does not tell any false statement, but he wants to keep Mr. Ben's secret. Then he hides the truth that Mrs. Ben should know, and less deception.
When is it permissible to lie? Are there something that should be kept secret?
I believe all of us have told lies in our lives before, and no one is perfect. And we are humans. There will be times when we want to use some unrighteous way to achieve our goals. But is telling a lie always wrong? Well, in my opinion, I believe that sometimes we might need to tell a lie in order to let others feel better, and we often call this a white lie. For instance, if someone is in really bad mood or he or she is already an aged person, and one might try to avoid shocking news for them, such as a divorce or loss of a family member.